Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Nexus Gold Corporate Update webinar. Nexus Gold is a gold exploration and development company with multiple projects in Canada and West Africa. Nexus trades under the symbol NXS on the TSX Venture Exchange and on the OTCQB under the symbol NXXGF. Joining us today is Alex Klenman, President and CEO, who will update investors on key exploration developments at the McKenzie Gold Project in Red Lake, Ontario, and the Dakouli 2 Gold Concession in Burkina Faso, West Africa, and other additional upcoming milestones. Today's presentation is also available for download on the Nexus website at nxs.gold under the Investor section, and then by clicking on Presentations and Combine Presentation. At the end of the presentation, we will open it up for questions for Alex to address. If you are interested in asking a question and are logged into the GoToWebinar app or web platform, you can submit your questions to us directly in the questions module. Please note this webinar is being recorded today, Tuesday, May 18th, and will soon be made available on the company's website. Today's call may contain forward-looking statements that are subject to risks and uncertainties and may cause actual results, performance, or developments to differ materially from those contained in the statements and are not guarantees of future performance of the company. No assurance can be given that any of the events anticipated by the forward-looking statements will occur, or if they do occur, what benefits the company will obtain from them. Also, some risks and uncertainties may be out of the control of the company. Nexus's full disclaimer is available on slide 2 of the presentation. Lastly, RBMG is not a registered investment advisor or broker-dealer. For more information, please visit us at rbmilestone.com. It is now our pleasure to introduce to you Alex Clemen, President and CEO of Nexus Gold. Alex.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you for attending this webinar. I want to start by mentioning today we're really going to only discuss our primary focus, our two flagship properties at the moment, the Dakouli 2 Gold Concession in Burkina Faso and the McKenzie Gold Project in Red Lake. These are our areas of focus at the moment, and so we're going to spend our time dissecting these. Now, Paul mentioned the disclaimer, which is here. He read from it or similar words. So that's our standard disclaimer. Like most public companies, a lot of forward-looking statements here. There it is. And we'll get right into it. Nexus is a gold exploration and development company with the emphasis on exploration. We're currently developing two primary projects, although we have a large portfolio. We've got over 550 square kilometers in West Africa and 6 owned projects in Canada. We're going to talk about Burkina Faso first and foremost. We've been operating there for several years. Myself and our Vice President of Exploration, Warren Robb, go back about a decade in Burkina, primarily from our time with a company called Rocks Gold in 2010 to 2012 years. Burkina Faso, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is a country in West Africa. It's about the size of Colorado, so it's pretty small. But it is absolutely jam-packed with big companies, mid-tier companies, and a relative amount of juniors. We've got IM Gold, we've got Endeavor, the big Russian company, Nord Gold. There is no shortage of big operators because it's one of the best places on the planet to find large gold deposits. It's relatively behind other jurisdictions in terms of modern mechanized mining. So looking at, maybe 30, 35 years of mining history. So there's still a lot of these green belts that are jammed with deposits that are still wide open in terms of exploration potential. So it hasn't been picked over yet, and we have a good land position there to find something of significance. Our main focus at the moment in Burkina is a project called the Dakouli 2 Gold Concession. It's located in central Burkina. It's 9,800 hectares, almost 10,000 hectares, so 98 square kilometers, give or take. And it's scalable in terms of size. It's district scale, so that's what you need. We're also in the neighborhood. This greenstone belt has deposits on it. This is the Sabka Shear that runs through it. Lord Gold's piece of mine. It's just 20-25 kilometers east of us, and it's 3.4 million ounces right here. And there's other satellite pits in the area. The historic Kilsaka mine is here, 600,000 ounces. Endeavor's up here with Karma. So we're in a good area right here, obviously. Much of the gold is found on these greenstones in West Africa. Dakouli was identified several years ago by Warren Robb, our chief geologist of exploration. What we saw at the time was in West Africa, you have artisanal miners. These are locals who do hand mining, sustenance mining, if you will. There was activity in the northeast corner of this concession when we made application to acquire it. That grew over the course of a year and a half to about a 400, almost 500 meter strike on an east-west trend. It's about a 200 meter north-south strike as well. So this particular situation led us to really want to get in and drill it, because when you see the locals down 80 meters pulling out rocks like this is one of the visible gold samples that was recovered on our first recon program there. It's quite a sight to see over there. You don't normally see nuggety gold like that in West Africa. But that was really the main reason why we wanted to get into Dakouli. The fact remains, and the fact is, that artisanal mining sites are significant precursors to finding gold deposits in West Africa. So you're not necessarily going to find something if there isn't any activity already taking place near surface with the locals. That's a good sign as well. You can bet just about every deposit in mine in Burkina started like this, with artisanal miners doing their thing. Here we are with really something that should be noted, and this is the Sabka Shear. The Sabka is a fault line structure that runs through Burkina Faso. There's a north and a south version of these trends, of these geological situations. And so the Sabka North goes really about 12 kilometers across the northern portion of our project. The South Sabka goes about 4 kilometers through the southern section. There's a Nord Gold satellite pit here. Obviously, the Nord Gold mine is up here, and you can see they are located on the Sabka Shear. So that's important as well, because right here in the northeast corner where we drilled at the end of 2020, that's where we concentrated that first drill program, and we got some decent results. Obviously, we'll speak to that momentarily, but you can see how that shear trends across our property here. And that will show you when I go through another slide here. You'll see how that is significant. There's also obviously a lot of activity down here. We'll get to that eventually, but we're really starting our exploration here. We'll work our way west. The first 40 samples recovered on the project were recovered from depth. So a lot of grab sampling that's done in this business is done at surface. In West Africa, you're able to get into those pits that the fires have created, and you can actually take your samples from down at depth. So that's another good thing. So a lot of the samples that we've taken, from 5 meters to 8 meters to 50 meters, have returned some pretty robust numbers. Obviously, it's a pretty high number right there, 98.9. But when you're getting 10 and 11 and 12 gram samples, that's a good sign. The average grades in West Africa, economic grades, can be a half gram to a gram and a half. So for us to be pulling those numbers, that was another reason why we were excited to get into drill. In late 2020, we did conduct our maiden drill program. 22 RC holes, almost 3,000 meters in several zones, but primarily that northeast zone were completed. And we got a discovery hole. Hole 7 returned 20 meters of 4.83 grams per ton, including 14.5 grams per ton over 6 meters. It's a good result anywhere in the world. and we did that in our Maiden drill program, which we found exciting, and we think is a significant development in terms of Dakouli's potential. And you know, what we saw, where we saw it, the drills basically bore that out. So we're in a confirmation mode right now, continuing drilling. Here's a quick look at some of the results from that, significant results from that first drill program. Obviously, you see this number here. This is the main hole. But when you're getting 10 meters of, you know, 1.5 grams with a 4-gram hit, again, 8 meters of 1.89 with a 6.5 gram. That's the type of mineralization you really want to see. But more importantly, when you start to build out a resource estimate, the data you need comes from these types of holes as well. 8 meters of, you know, 3/4 of a gram, 10 meters of a 1/2 gram, 10 meters of a 1/3 gram. These are important. They may not be sexy, but they're important in West Africa when you're building a near surface, when you're trying to build out a near surface resource. Here's where we're at today. You can see where some of the significant holes from that Maiden program were drilled up in this corner here. That was the new Orpaillage. Obviously, the Sabka shear comes across our property like this, and you can see the areas of interest. This is our soil grid program that we've done. The soil grid gives us basically anomalous gold at surface, and we can chart out or peg out where we think the best drilling will take place. You can see obviously that there's numbers in here from the soil grid, and we drilled in here, and we can see how that corresponds. We see about a 5-kilometer strike along the west here that we're going to continue to drill. So we are drilling right now. The drill is turning in Burkina. We're doing another 2,000 meters. The reverse circulation program of almost 3,000 meters took place here. We now want to see core. So we're spending a little bit more money. We're doing a diamond program, but we're working our way west here to see, you know, obviously we'll drill in here where we were, but we're going to step out and see if we can get some more numbers on a westerly here. But more importantly, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've got several kilometers of trend working on a southwest orientation that you can see here. And the big purple dots are good signs. They're the robust soil samples. So we can drill, you know, depending on what we get along here, we'll also begin to drill down these strike zones here and see what we have there. I mean, that's a very large footprint right here. You know, we're looking at about 6 to 8 kilometers this way, you know, 4 kilometers north-south. It's a big footprint. Keep in mind, we haven't soil gridded the southern section, so we don't really know what's going on down here yet, and there could be much more. This in itself is a very large footprint. So we're excited. We think we can build something of significance here. And the second round of drilling, as I mentioned, is taking place right now. I think they're on hole number 2, to be honest with you. If you're interested, we try to post updates daily from Burkina, keep everybody updated in real time as to how things are going and how quickly or slow things are working. That is it for Dakouli. Let's get into our Canadian project of note. That is Mackenzie, a project in British Columbia. We've got several projects in Newfoundland, but today we're going to discuss Mackenzie because that's another project we feel has great potential. McKenzie Gold Project is located in the heart of Red Lake. It's near several historic and large mines. You can see that there's historical showings, advanced prospects, and past producing mines all around us. You know, in particular, the Hasaga mine complex is just about 5 kilometers to the east of us, and that is, you know, 1.1 million ounces of 0.83 grams per ton. I want you to really focus on that for a moment. Obviously, you know, that type of grade that you see here, 22 grams, 19 grams, 18 grams, those are fantastic. But this, I think, plays into what we're doing at Mackenzie. We'll get to that here in the next slide or two. So it's about a 1,400 hectare project. It's been previously worked by another company that were able to generate some bonanza grade grab samples, 313 grams, 331 grams, 212, 135, quite a, you know, that was us actually, the 135 we grabbed. But when you see those types of grab samples at surface, you know, that's a good sign. Something's going on there. Majority of these were taken on the island section of McKenzie project. And that's an area that we haven't drilled yet. So that's sort of in our pocket. At some point, we'll get to drill this sort of bonanza section that we're seeing, and we're eager to do that. We were going to do it this last winter, but the ice wasn't quite thick enough for us to get the rig over to the island. Instead, we went to the southern section of St. Paul's Bay. Here we have a quick look at the historic work that was done at Mackenzie. You'll see, good grades, but over very narrow widths, 23 grams over 0.2 of a meter. Same thing here, 17 grams over half a meter. Those are good things to see, but obviously you need to see length for anything exciting to really happen. But that's enough for us to want to get in and drill. And this is the area where we began drilling last August. In June, we initiated June 2020, we initiated our Maiden program there, 2,000 meter diamond drill program in the St. Paul's Bay region. The numbers that we generated in that drill program were really interesting. We were able to replicate the historical numbers, and by that I mean, a higher grade over a half a meter. So 5 grams over half a meter. 4.3 grams over a meter, 5 again over a half, 7 over a meter. Those were consistent with the historical work that had been done. And hole 6 right here generated 13.5 grams or 13.25 grams over almost 3 meters, including a significant high grade hit. But you can see that typically we're seeing narrow widths. Hole 7 and 8, we decided to pop up a little north of this. Everything seems to be on an east-west trend here, so we're working on that preference. But hole 7 and 8 gave us a completely different type of mineralization. Obviously, these are nice high-grade hits in the quartz veins, these narrow veins that spider their way through the system. But we began to see a more broadly disseminated gold intersections in holes 7 and 8. We got 1/3 of a gram over 117 meters in hole 7. There was a nice 9-meter run of 1.26 grams there. In hole 8, we did a little better, obviously 2/3 of a gram over 117 meters again from surface, including 1 meter or 55.5 meters at 1.0 grams. In there were a couple of nice runs, 16 meters and 1.42, 9 meters and 1.12. So there's a different type of mineralization taking place there, and one that caught our attention and Rimini Exploration, the company we work with in Red Lake. Rimini, we were all quite sort of pleasantly surprised. Where we're going to go with this is what we're seeing, this disseminated near 1 gram gold. It resembles what's going on at Premier Gold's Saga Mine complex, which is the one I referred to, just about 5 kilometers east of us. There's 1.1 million ounces there at 0.83 grams per ton. We're seeing something that's similar to that. So what we really like to do is marry, if we can, some of the length that we saw in 7 and 8 with some of those higher grade intervals we were seeing. More importantly, the more that we can drill with significant length, 50 meters or greater, 30, 40 meters of a gram or in that range, that starts to build something significant out. So we think we're onto something there. Assays are pending from the most recent program where we drilled in April of this year, and we expect those any day. And I'm going to show you some core photos from that drill program. We did 2,000 meters of diamond drilling. But what we really saw were some remarkably mineralized or pyrite, moly, big swaths of cubic pyrite, coarse pyrite. And these are all good things. Scheelite, moly, chalcopyrite, pyrite, these are all really, really good things to see for when you're drilling for gold in Red Lake. So we're optimistic that we're going to get some good numbers. Obviously, we don't know what they are. We haven't seen them yet. They'll begin to trickle in any day. So I expect the first few holes to be out within a week or so. If the lab and everything that we're is accurate, but certainly over the next 4 weeks, these results will come to market. And again, we are looking to lengthen the lower grade intercepts that we saw, that being half a gram to a gram and a half. Continue to hit some higher grade intervals, whether they're 1 meter or 2 meters or less. Of 4, 5, 6, 10 grams would be great. Those types of numbers tell us we're onto something. We can combine these lengthier runs of lower grade disseminated gold with these, beautiful sort of visible gold and quartz kind of situations. I think we'll be onto something here, and it's a really good development for Nexus. So that's pretty much where we're at in terms of Dakouli and McKenzie. Quick overview. I'm the president, CEO, and director. I took over as CEO in 2018. I was one of the founders of the company back in 2014. Ian Stalker's our non-executive chairman, very experienced guy in Africa and elsewhere, involved in gold exploration and gold development for decades. Warren is our senior VP of exploration and our chief geologist. Warren and I met in 2010-11. We both worked for Rox Gold. And of course, Warren was the chief geologist with Rox when they made the big Yaramoko discovery. I remember it well. It's quite a moment in time. That's turned out to be a very high grade, million-ounce deposit in West Africa. Much higher grade than this. We've got an excellent support staff at Nexus and a great country manager, Jean-Claude in Burkina, who's also with Rox Gold as well. Now, one thing we should get into is our share structure. It is bloated. It is what it is. We can't change that today or tomorrow. But one of the things, we seem to trade in this 5 to 12 or 5 to 14 cent range, depending on results on gold, the price of gold, on gold cycle. Different times of the year, we tend to see different prices. Insiders and close associates and friends own about 30% of the company. Institutional supports in the neighborhood of 20 to 25%. And that's where we're at today. I think we had a significant volume day today for some reason. That's good. We need to see that churn and that turnover in shares. And I pretty much think that's it. I'm able to take questions now if anybody has any. And thank you for listening to my speech. Be sure to ask questions now. It's a good time.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Once again, if you're interested in asking a question and are logged into the GoToWebinar app or web platform, please submit your questions to us directly and in the questions module. We're going to take a few moments to develop the queue. So Alex, during the presentation, question came in, I think when you were going over Burkina, but they are asking, where do you post your updates on Burkina?
We do basically daily Twitter updates. Find us on Twitter. I think it's at Nexus Gold. Corp. I should know our Twitter handle, but if you search Nexus Gold Corp on Twitter, you'll find us. Also on Instagram. Both our Instagram and Twitter feed are pretty active, and we post daily updates in terms of how the drilling's going, what the guys are seeing, the core is interesting, any other information that isn't the line in terms of disclosure, but certainly gives people an idea of the progress we're making.
And we received a couple of questions on this, but could you let us know what Nexus's current position is at roughly? Combining it with another question, also if you can get into the burn rate there. And what should it be post Dakouli drill program, assuming those expenses haven't been fully paid yet?
Okay, so this is a cash balance conversation.
Right.
We have in the neighborhood of 1.2, 1.4 million in the bank right now. The questionnaire was correct. The current drill program isn't fully paid for yet. It will be. Once it's paid for, We'll be down around that million mark, maybe 800, 850, 900, 950 in that neighborhood. We're comfortable. We really don't need to raise anything in the near term. That isn't to say we won't, or we're always sort of inundated. I'd like to see the share price at a higher threshold to take money, but it is where it is. I mean, market's the market. But we're okay for a while. We're drilling. We're continuing to drill. We're going to watch what happens over the summer. Obviously, we're going to get our Red Lake results. We're going to get our results, and we'll then decide how we're going to move forward. There's a little bit of work scheduled in Newfoundland the summer on one of our projects there, but more or less, our primary focus is Dakouli and Mackenzie. So once all the results are in from these recent drill programs, we'll see A, where the market is, and B, what kind of results we have and what the appetite is for financing.
Yeah, just got recently copper and nickel have moved the needle. Do you have any plans, Nexus have any plans for those prospects within Nexus properties?
Definitely in Newfoundland, our projects have copper on them. One of the projects that we're getting to, Gummy Bear, or GB, Gummy Bear is an interesting name. A lot of interesting names and projects in Newfoundland. Gummy Bear has some really good copper numbers on it. If anybody's unfamiliar with that, go to our website and check out the deck or drop downs in the project section and take a peek at Gummy Bear. We have some flow through cash to spend there this year, so we're going to do a program, get on the property, begin to do a recon. It hasn't been worked on in several years, so we're going to get an idea of what it looks like today. But there's good copper numbers there and gold numbers, so I expect we'll get some work done. Again, it's not a major priority for us or a huge focus or a cash drainer for that matter, but it is in a good jurisdiction. There's a lot of action going on in Newfoundland right now. Obviously, everybody knows we found gold, but more importantly, there's a staking rush going on there. Some huge swaths of land are changing hands, and Gummy Bear is right in the middle of a really good area. So yeah, I think it's good if we get some work done there and maybe see where the copper numbers lead us. But again, not a huge priority, but something that we will be working. Absolutely.
Thanks, Alex. Is there a resource estimate in the near future?
Yeah, there should be. One of our projects that we really wanted to do that on is an optioned property. So it gets a little kinky in terms of buyouts and payouts and things like that. With Dakouli, for example, we own it 100%. We have a 9-year mining lease. We're not even really into year 3 yet. So we have plenty of time to develop Dakouli. Dakouli has size, as I mentioned before. It's almost 100 square kilometers in size. That's district scale. So the size of the mineralized footprint today is large. We need to drill confirm it for PIRs, or the artisanal miners, have given us one level of confirmation. Our soil sampling has given us another level of confirmation. The way to really define what's there is to get in there and drill this huge footprint. So we're just starting that process, early days. And obviously we're encouraged by the first drill round. We're conducting the second drill round right now. And the idea would be, yes, a resource estimate in the near future at Dakouli, I don't think is out of the question. And it's something that we are going to get to. We're going to drill enough there to be able to get to that, assuming drilling continues to go well each round. And that's our goal. Same thing could be said about Mackenzie. Let's see what these drill results are. If we continue to see this type of lengthy mineralization in the southern section of the property, we're going to have to map out target areas, see how they correspond or correlate, and begin to see if we can get to a resource estimate there. But I think Dakouli is the faster path. It's the bigger path. It's obviously a much larger property. And listen, the M&A activity in West Africa has been very significant recently. Rox Gold was bought out. Other companies have been gobbled up by the majors over the last year or so. Semifo bought out by Endeavor. Teranga was bought out. So we like our prospects there. We really just need to develop Dakouli, get to a maiden resource or begin to get close to that and can benefit from some of this M&A activity as well.
Yep. Thanks everyone for submitting your questions. We're getting a lot of good ones here. Any opportunities near term for revenue generation for Nexus?
Yeah, we have two joint venture partners or earn-in partners at this point. One on one of our Newfoundland projects, Dorset, and the other being our Wakunga project in West Africa. We're in year 2 of those agreements. Years 3, 4, and 5 significantly kick in dollars. So if both those companies choose to continue to work these projects, that's about $1 million in financing every year of coming in from those deals. I should also mention, the share price can maintain, say, 7.5 to 12, anywhere in that neighborhood. There's funding on the table for warrants. So again, if we can maintain a higher share price based on good results and a good gold market, it'll lessen our need to further dilute. We have the warrants already issued, and the warrants will be money north of 7.5 cents. So I have assurances from some of these larger shareholders with those positions. They're more than happy to exercise those warrants. I think people are pleased with our activity. Other people think it's crazy to be trying to drill on 2 continents at the same time. But I get a lot of feedback from big shareholders who really like the fact that we're giving everybody an opportunity at a big win. If we sit back and penny pinch and try to hope that something is going to happen, it's not going to fall out of the sky. We have to drill our way out of where we're at, and that's the only way. And talk to anybody in this business, and they'll tell you that is the way. So we're drilling, and I'm hopeful that we're going to get some results that can continue to push us north of where we're at. We've been in a trough here for weeks, but I don't think we're going to stay there that much longer. I think the horizon looks good. Gold looks stronger. We'll see where it goes over the summer, but we've got 2 really good projects right now that are giving us drill numbers, and we're going to continue on that path.
What is the most difficult issue Nexus is dealing with currently?
I got 4 or 5 of them. Number 1, share structure. It's really kind of a pain in the ass every day to look up and see a mountain of stock. We see a lot of algorithms. We see a lot of day traders, and they're in our market. I think we lose them the further north we go, to a certain degree, the algorithms, the automated trading. And so I've seen it with other companies I'm intimately involved with, where share price jumps significantly very quickly. The amount of that type of activity decreases. We also deal with perception. Burkina Faso has had some bad news over the last 4 or 5 years, some horrific news. But it's all in context. I mean, there's been horrific news out of the United States in terms of mass shootings. But the United States is still the United States. There's been some issues in West Africa, but for some reason everybody takes West Africa with this sort of, well, it must be a terrible place. For us, we work there. We have a crew that's based there. We've worked there for a long time. We know the lay of the land. Our guys know how to move around. There's no real issue whatsoever, especially specifically where we are. The hotspots in Burkina are really the north along the border with Niger and the northeast with Mali. There's a bit of a frontier there. There's not much of a border. You get a lot of banditry, insurgents, extremists operating in the wilds. But for the most part, we're out of the line of fire. And quite frankly, very few places on the planet will give us the opportunity to have 10,000 hectares that's of interest to majors in the neighborhood. We've already demonstrated the ability to buy out smaller companies developing significant projects. So for us to be able to be in a parking place like that, in that neighborhood, we're going to stick around. There's no need. We don't need extra security. We're not in any situation like that. So that's the reason we're in Burkina Faso. It's a very fast path. Things go well to something significant. But those are 2 challenges we face. The perception of our share price, which I think is devalued, and also the negative perception of operating in Burkina Faso. But we're there, the major's there, we're not leaving, and I think good drill hole or two can make a lot of ammunition to blow out walls of shares sitting a half penny up. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you. When can assay results of the diamond drill program at McKenzie Gold Project be expected or anticipated?
Yeah, I'd say any day. I wouldn't be surprised if we're able to put out a couple of holes next week. They've had no indication that they're backed up, and we're really just going on 4 to 6 weeks right now. Not all the core goes in at the same time. The first 600 meters went in very quickly. After that, you can drill 100, 150 meters a day. You can only cut 50 meters a day. And the drill core has to be cut with a diamond saw, prepped, and taken to the lab. So the cutting takes actually more time than the drilling. So keep that in mind. So the first 600 meters went in probably 6.5 weeks ago before we had finished drilling. And then from each day, every few days, several hundred meters makes its way to the lab. So all the cores at the lab, the first few holes should be in our possession any day, and we'll put that news out as soon as we can. Comes in, it's reviewed by Warren as the QP, and once he has signed off on it, he shares it with myself and the rest of the board. Then we can formulate a news release and put it out. So I would anticipate perhaps next week.
You've gone a little bit into the financing plans, but received a question on this prior to the call, and I want to make sure that it's answered. Nexus's plans on expanding drilling at potential targets, and again, if you can go into your financing plans, but into 2023.
Sure. Well, obviously, look, we've identified Dakouli and Mackenzie as our two priorities. We're going to drill both as much as we can. That is the mandate. That's what people want to see, and that's what we need to do. It's about developing those projects. We have some funds in the bank right now. It's no secret as a junior that we always have to raise money. Unfortunately for us, we've been in a situation where the money's on the table when the share price is low. I'd like to wait and see where we're at. Money's always coming in one way or the other. But if I can get the share price, if a good drill result can get us that share price north of 7.5, 8 cents, I think we have funding options right there in front of us with warrants. There's a couple of institutional investors who have been circling for some time. It's not always a really good habit to say no to institutional investors. Some will argue that the reason they're circling is that they can get you to give them a lot of shares at 5 cents. That may be the case. I don't know. But I do know that if you say no several times, that girl's not going to go out on a date with you. So I do want institutional investment. I need to get Nexus some serious backing. We do have a great support base. There's no doubt about it. But institutional investment, as I've seen elsewhere in different sectors, is a huge development tool. If you have funds willing to write $1 million checks, you can drill a lot of holes. So we'll see where it goes. Right now we're okay. There may be small financings in and around the next 6 months, but I'll only do something significant if I have board approval and their share price is at a better threshold, and we have some really good news to back it on. A big hole or two out of Mackenzie or a big hole or two out of Dakouli might be what we need to do that. But we have the ability to raise money is not an issue. It's where we do it, how we do it, when we do it. Right now we're okay. We'll see where we are in a few weeks.
Are there any additional properties being looked at in the Burkina Faso to add to your portfolio there?
Yeah, one thing that I really like to do over time is opt out or move out of the option agreement deals and pursue more projects that are 100% owned. Mansour is one of our projects. We just completed a recon program down there. That is a big project, 190 square kilometers. It's really early stage, hasn't had much of any exploration done on it, just a little tiny bit. But it's in a really good area. It's in the southern section of Burkina. It's in and around the Houndé mine, where Endeavour is. Rox Gold Zero Moko is down there. It's close to Ghana. It's an area that we haven't really worked in, but we've identified as an area. It's really one of the safest places in the area in terms of it's not near any hot border. And you know, there's some ground down there that might be available, but it's not a huge priority. But we're always looking, and listen, we're always offered things. And once a week, something arrives in the inbox that's available. Luckily, Warren and Jean-Claude and Kareem are geologists over there. They know the area quite well, so anytime somebody sends me something, these guys typically already know what it was or what it is, and if there's any real upside there. And so, yeah, we're looking. If something significant happens to fall out of the sky, something with a bankable resource on it, something with some huge upside that's just staring us in the face, we'll look at it. But no, we're not really shopping right now. I think Dakouli and Mackenzie are really good areas to focus on. One concern that some shareholders have conveyed to me is confusion or lack of focus. How can you be working in Canada and West Africa at the same time? Well, quite honestly, West Africa was our focus. When all of that bad news started to come out of Burkina, and it just sort of was casting a shadow on what we were doing, we looked at Canada as being a hedge. So we expanded, into Canada. So if there are dark periods of bad news coming out of Burkina, we're not 100% exposed to that by having all of our projects over there. By having some Canadian projects, provide a good insurance policy. And look, if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have run into Mackenzie, which is looking to be quite an interesting project. So I think we'll thin out our portfolio over time. If I can't find JV or earn-in partners for some of them, I'll probably drop some of the small projects that we've already had discussions along those lines. But, I like Newfoundland. I don't know if it's going to be a huge focus for us, but certainly Gummy Bear. Our new pilot project in BC is pretty close to being an attractive listing project. So we might find a partner to take it off our hands and develop it and turn it into a revenue stream. That would be nice. But short answer, after a long answer, short answer to the question, we're not really actively looking, but we see things all the time. And if anything pops up that looks like it's something we need to pursue, yeah, we'll pursue it.
So we have time for a couple of more questions here. And next one we have, just give me just a minute here. We've actually talked about this as well, Alex, but in your opinion, what is the rationale for Nexus's low share price with the current high gold value?
That's interesting. 2 weeks ago, I had a lot of discussions, over the last several weeks, multiple times. Retail investors typically look at assays pending or a current drill program as catalysts to buy and hold stock. But we've seen a lot of people willing to sell shares at 5.5 cents, 5 cents, with assays pending. And after we've already made public the extent of, at least visually, the mineralization in the cores that we're waiting on from Red Lake. So it doesn't make sense to me that the average retail investor's behavior doesn't fit what we're seeing, the pattern we're seeing in our daily share market, in our daily market. We're seeing, millions of shares being sold prior to assay results, and while we are drilling. Typically, those were, buy periods or hold periods for retail investors. But why now? Why would somebody sell 1 million shares of Nexus at 5 cents when assay results are about to drop? It doesn't make sense to me. And I've had a lot of people I know who, just in casual conversation, get into conspiracy theories. Oh, there's shorts, or there's manipulation, or there's, algorithms, and there's this, and there's that, and there's everything under the sun. And listen, where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't profess to know exactly what I'm seeing, but it doesn't make sense to me but it might be just a byproduct of how many shares are outstanding. That might be it. But honestly, I expect not to be here as long as we've been here. Once we got into this 5-cent range, just in the trough of churning, half-penny churning. I can't put my finger on it. I've scratched my head raw trying to figure it out. I've sworn at my computer screen. I've smashed things. I've resolved not to let it bother me. It doesn't matter. It's there every day. I live with it. And if anybody thinks that I don't take it seriously, I certainly the hell do. I'd like to get out of this drop, and I think honestly the only way we're going to do it is a good combination of results and a robust gold price. Right now, the sentiment in gold just isn't there. There's more offers than bids, and it's beginning to change. But once sentiment arrives, suddenly, the share price will be 7 cents, just on that alone, or 7.5, or whatever. If we can put a drill hole into this, I think 10 to 12 is within reason again. It's my job to be optimistic. Sometimes it's difficult when you face what we face on a daily basis. But we're confident we're doing the right thing by concentrating on Dakouli and Mackenzie, and we've got a drill hole or 2, 3, or 4 more. That'll change the needle. That'll move the needle.
Great answer, thank you. And last question here, will Nexus Gold get priority at the assay house since drilling is completed?
Yeah, I think what we're talking about is how the labs work. In Canada, there's been no issue whatsoever with the lab. In Burkina Faso, we've had lab issues. We had some quality control issues previously, delayed some results. I don't think that's an issue right now. In terms of getting priority, as much as we're drilling, we're still nowhere near some of the bigger companies and how much volume they generate in terms of business for these labs. And there's really 2 ISO labs in ISO rated labs in Burkina, ALS and AC labs. And there's a private lab as well. But in terms of priority, we can be in the queue, and Endeavor can show up with 3 truckloads of ore, and you know what? We might not be in the queue. We might be pushed back. I'm not saying it happens. We've heard things, but I don't anticipate any long delays. We're going to have news out pretty quick on the Red Lake results, and once drilling is completed at Dakouli, another 6-week turnaround, maybe 8 weeks, something like that. But in terms of being able to be prioritized, we're not quite big enough yet. We'll see what happens in the next round of drilling.
Thank you, Alex, and thanks everyone for joining today's webinar. It will soon be made available on the Nexus website. If you have any additional questions that have not been addressed on this webinar, please feel free to email us at nexus@rbmilestone.com. Again, that's nexus@rbmilestone.com. Thanks again. You are now free to disconnect.
Thank you.